All right, we are 2 days removed from the Mets season ending. I said to myself today, I joked how maybe I, not wear Mets gear for a while, but after you stomach it for a day, you realize we're Mets fans forever, man. So I'm rocking the Mets shirt today, and we're ready to talk about the offseason here. It still stings. The Dodgers play the Reds today. My predictions for the playoffs, I'm going to go with the Dodgers over the Mariners in the World Series. That's what I think. But it stings that the Mets aren't in LA today. Although Blake Snell probably would have had 14 strikeouts against the Mets. But, that's what I think. I think it'll be a decent playoffs. I won't be that locked in. I'll be watching some of the games, but I'm not going to clear my schedule to watch this postseason because it still hurts that our Mets aren't in it. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm Jake Brown at Jake Brown Live. Follow me on TikTok. We've been doing lives every day, as well as X, Facebook, Instagram, and my YouTube. Please subscribe at Jake Brown Live. Subscribe to our YouTube. Smash that thumbs up on this video, please. And become a Mets Daily Insider for extra member-only videos this offseason. Just $5 a month. Scan that code and become a member. David Stearns spoke to the media on Monday and said a bunch of nothing. It was a bunch of nothing burger. It was a lot of just classic David Stearns talk, some ums mixed in there. Nothing of note. Besides the fact that he said Carlos Mendoza will remain as manager, which we'll talk to it in a second. He said he put a cap on a tremendously disappointing 2025 season, he called. He highlighted 3 areas where the team didn't do well enough, which we all know. Run prevention, defense, and failed to score the runs we needed to score. Thank you. Thank you for that obvious fact. He said he needed to be better. He knows he didn't do great in certain areas. So we want to break down David Stearns and kind of the offseason he had, the trade deadline he had, and the good, the bad, the ugly. Basically, I don't want to do a grade of every player. So we're doing pass and fail for David Stearns on this list. And the real only passes were Juan Soto, obviously career year, almost 40-40, career high in homers. Got off to a bad start, but that's a pass. You could say the contract was too much. Maybe he hurt the team chemistry or in the clubhouse, but he put up incredible numbers. So I think Juan Soto is a pass. Clay Holmes, I know some people might put a fail. I think he was a pass. The guy had a really good first half, transitioning to a starter. I think you still have the option, if you have a good enough offseason in the starting pitching market, along with your young guns and Sproat and McLean and maybe Tong. You could maybe move him to the bullpen next year. I thought you got him at a fair price at 3 years for $39. So I think Clay Holmes was mostly a success. I know he couldn't eat many innings down the stretch, but he still had a pretty strong season for the Mets. So I'm going to give him a pass for Clay Holmes. And then Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso improved on last year, which was the worst of his career. He hit 38, drove in 125. I think Pete Alonso overall, at least offensively, had a good year. And I think it was smart to get him short term. He has obviously opted out, which we'll also talk about here in a minute on the show. And then we go through the fails. And this list is much longer. And I thought the 2024 season, his offseason was great. Getting Iglesias, getting Severino, everything seemed to work. Bader, worked for the most part for at least half the season. It seemed like he struck gold on a lot of his moves last year. Sean Manaea was great. Everything kind of worked. This year, it felt like everything failed. Frankie Montas, that's the obvious one. 2 years, $34 million. He ends up with a 6+ ERA, and he's out for next year with Tommy John. 2 years, $34 million, robbed from the New York Mets. And then not signing Jose Quintana instead for just $4 million. Quintana's on a Brewers team that is, the best record in the league this season and, has a chance to win a World Series. And Jose Quintana went out and had a, serviceable season for the Brewers. 24 starts, 3.96 ERA. Mets could use someone like that and a guy who eats innings in Quintana. So that was a miss. Sean Manaea, I'm putting on the fail list with the caveat that he was hurt. He missed half the season. He came back. He had elbow issues. He pitched through it. I still like Sean Manaea. I think he's a good clubhouse guy. But you signed Sean Manaea for 3 years, $75 million. Luckily, one of those years essentially deferred. So let's look at this year as deferred and call it a wash. And the Mets will pay that money, after his career is over down the line when he's probably retired. But the money and what you expected, Sean Manaea was a big fail this year. So that's a fail. Ryan Stanek, huge fail. He was just dreadful out of the bullpen this year. You could not trust him at all. So inconsistent, prone to the long ball, prone to just giving up meatballs down the middle. Ryan Stanek, luckily a 1-year deal. He won't be back with the Mets. Jesse Winker, my God, I thought it was a good signing to bring him back as a vibes guy. You got him for a low cost. But the reality was he was made of glass. I mean, he was broken all year, all sorts of injuries. And there's no way you can argue bringing Jesse Winker back. I don't care about the vibes anymore. We got to stop with vibes, guys. We got to start with baseball players. And Jesse Winker broke down. God, what a disaster he ended up being. Nick Madrigal, you probably forgot his name because he got hurt on the first defensive play at shortstop of spring training. Jose Iglesias, healthy all year, playing in the playoffs today for the San Diego Padres. Iglesias, not a great year offensively, hitting around 230, but stayed healthy all year, was a veteran, a good clubhouse guy, great defensively for the Padres. So you could have got Iglesias for a couple million more. He signed for $4 million. Madrigal, I believe, was a 1-year, $2 million deal. So that was a disaster. Guy didn't play all year. You can't really argue to bring him back because we didn't see him. Jared Young, probably doesn't belong on this list, but he did get some playing time and didn't do much of anything. This was a guy who was good in the KBO, and this was a Stearns kind of trying to outsmart people. Let's get a guy no one knows much about. Hope he works as a part-time DH bench player. He was good in AAA, but Jared Young was not good in the big leagues. Jose Siri traded the time. We were fine with it. You traded, Eric Orr's a reliever who ended up having a great year for the Rays, a 3 ERA out of the bullpen. You really could have used Orr's out of the bullpen over a guy like Ryan Stanek. I thought the trade for Jose Siri, good at the time, awful now looking back on it. Siri, 2 hits in a Mets uniform. He hit 061, was absolutely a nothing burger, and was out for 5 months with a broken foot. And then the trades. The only one I'll say was fine with Tyler Rogers. I didn't really put that on this list because I'm on him because you did trade Drew Gilbert and you did trade prospects for a rental. And now if he doesn't come back in free agency, then that trade probably was not good considering the Mets didn't make the playoffs. But the other 3 trades ended up being shitty. Cedric Mullins was absolutely atrocious. Absolutely awful watching Cedric Mullins play baseball, both as a hitter and a fielder. And, I think at the time, the trade looked fine, but it didn't do anything for the Mets. Ryan Helsley, the guy in his first 11 innings gave up like 14 runs. I know down the stretch, last 4 outings, he was fine. But in big moments when the Mets needed him in August, again, one more win the Mets are playing today. And Ryan Helsley contributed to a lot more losses than he did wins. And same for Gregory Soto. Gregory Soto, another rental that there's no way you can bring back. For the most part, Gregory Soto is not good. He hurt this team more than he helped them. And then the TBD category. Griffin Canning, I think, was looking like, the Stearns masterclass kind of signing. And then he got hurt for the year and is out for part of next year, too. So it's TBD because for 2 months he was solid and outperformed his 1-year, $4 million deal, but he missed the season, and you only got 2 months of him. So that's a TBD. And A.J. Minter, I think at the time, A.J. Minter was a great signing, but again, he was coming off a offseason surgery. He's out for the year. He'll probably be ready for opening day. We're not sure yet. But again, to be determined, he has a potential opt-out. I would doubt he would opt out considering he had a season-ending injury. So he'll get his $11 million. I believe it was 2 years, $22 million. So he's the TBD because I got to see if he's back and see if he's good. So you see a lot more failures than passes on that list for David Stearns. And if you got to grade him overall, D+. As good as Soto was, everyone else was really pretty bad. And even Clay Holmes, I was generous giving a pass there. So after probably a B+ 2024 season, it's a D+ 2025 for David Stearns. Next up, Carlos Mendoza. That's the guy he decided to bring back. Stearns says Mendoza will be back. Is that the right decision? I don't think so. I thought, again, we talked about it yesterday. Mendoza was great last year, but we can't keep harping on last year. I think he really lost this clubhouse. He lost this team. Too many losing streaks, too many long losing streaks of 7+ games. That doesn't happen, with a good manager. And I do think you need some more rah-rah. This team clearly wasn't motivated enough to play every day. How are they not motivated to beat the Marlins? And the Marlins were. That's on the manager. I just feel like he's a bit robotic, a bit analytical. That last game, playing the matchups too much, taking out Raley for Stanek, using 5 pitchers in 4 innings. That's not stuff that a big league manager does. That's the circus. And there were moments that Carlos Mendoza was managing this like a circus. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't even think he's a bad manager, but he had a horrific season as manager. And, when you're changing a lot of coaches, which we'll talk about soon, the Mets, Stearns said, they are evaluating that, but we are expecting changes. Definitely Chavez Barnes. At least Chavez is getting fired. So we know that's coming here any day or at the latest early next week. But I don't think it's the right move to bring back Carlos Mendoza. Let us know in the comments below if you agree. Pete Alonso, he said Pete was a good Met. We'd like to bring him back, but he talked about run prevention. Pete Alonso is not helping in the run prevention category. Pete really regressed this year defensively, and some of his awful throws cost the Mets games. It cost Kodai Senga, a majority of his season, that injury. Now, I'm not going to fully blame Pete, but Pete made a lot of bad throws to first base. He made a lot of bad throws home this year. You could have a highlight reel of all the bad Pete Alonso defensive plays. Even that Friday game against the Marlins, some plays that hurt Brandon Sproat that he really should have made. Bobbles, bad throws, plays he should have made off the bat. Pete Alonso was not good defensively, and I think he was good offensively. But will his Mets career come to an end? I think it does. I don't like that he immediately answered. I talked about this yesterday. The opt-out, I would have had, it's a better optic if you wait a few days about opting out. I know that's a lot of opting. Did not like that look from him. I thought Edwin Diaz handled it professionally, saying he'll talk to his family. Alonso didn't. I've said this. Alonso's not a leader. He's not viewed as a captain. I know a lot of Met fans love him. He's broken a lot of records. I do think the Mets are going to give him some kind of offer because I agree. I don't think it's right that they just let him walk without any offer. But I think there could be more of a market for him this year after the good year he had. Seattle, San Francisco, maybe somewhere in Texas, maybe even the New York Yankees, which I know would kill a lot of Met fans to have to watch Pete Alonso maybe in a Yankee uniform. But I think he fits more in that clubhouse than he fits in this Mets clubhouse, to be honest with you, with what they have there and what they have here. So I think Pete, in that order, could make a lot of sense for the Yankees with Stanton, Judge, Alonso. Be a lot of power in the Bronx, in that ballpark. He'll easily be a 40-homer guy every year. So we'll see. I think there'll be more interest on him. Scott Boras is going to look for more than 1 or 2 years, and if not, he's going to want to go. And I have a feeling Pete wants to go. I think he feels slighted by the Mets giving Juan Soto the offer they did. I think he feels just a little bit slighted of how everything's happened with this organization. He feels a little bit disrespected. Lindor's wife not going to Alonso's to his wife's baby shower. Some division there behind the scenes, I think. I think Pete Alonso is going to be gone, but we'll see. Again, it will depend this offseason if there's a market for him. There was nobody that wanted him last year, and the Mets had nothing left. He ended up as a Met. So I think Pete's gone. Let us know in the comments. I know a lot of you want to keep him. I would move on from Pete Alonso. That's going to be a topic all offseason. We're addressing it today. I'm not going to address Pete every day. It's going to be old. I'm already sick of talking about it, but it is something that was addressed in David Stearns' press conference where he said, he was a good Met. We'll try and bring him back. But if run prevention's a thing, you need to get better defensively at first base. We'll be talking all Mets offseason. We'll see what happens with the coaches. But for now, we'll talk to you again tomorrow right here in Mets Daily. My prediction, Dodgers over Mariners in the World Series. That's how I see this postseason playing out. I think the Mariners are hot. And look at the Red Sox as my dark horse team. A team, if they could get by the Yankees, they could also go on a run. Thanks for watching Mets Daily. Hit that thumbs up right now. Hit subscribe. And follow me at Jake Brown Live. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Let's go Mets. And, of course, the Jets lost. The life of Mets, a Jets fan. True misery.